Italy was burning. The sky thundered. Every day, towns disappeared overnight, and no one could tell which one would be. During the Second World War, the skies over Italy were filled with fire. After the Allied invasion in 1943, American forces pushed northward through the Italian peninsula to weaken the German army. Bombers flew daily missions destroying railways, bridges, and supply depots. It was a time when every town could become a target, often without the pilots even knowing who lived below. One of those targets was a small mountain settlement called San Giovanni Rotondo. It had no military importance, but by mistake or confusion, it appeared on one pilot's list. That same town was home to a Capuan friar named Padre Pio of Pietrelcina, man already known throughout Italy for the mysterious wounds on his hands and feet, the stigmata, and for his reputation as a man of deep prayer. On the day of the mission, an American pilot approached the area at high altitude. As he prepared to release his bombs, something happened that no one could explain. According to his own account, a figure appeared before the cliff, a friar dressed in brown, standing in the sky with his arms. Startled, the pilot tried to continue the mission, but the bombs refused to drop. He checked the systems. They were functioning perfectly. The controls would not respond, as if held by an unseen force. The pilot abandoned the mission and returned to base. When the aircraft was inspected, nothing was found to be. Everything worked exactly as it to. Some weeks after the failed bombing mission, the pilot was stationed near the city of Foggia. Stories began to circulate among the Allied troops. Rumors of a friar who lived on a mountain, a man whose prayers were said to protect the villages from destruction. The pilot listened. The more he heard, the more certain he became that this monk was connected to what he had seen. Determined to find out, he traveled to the monastery of San Giovanni Rotondo. Inside the small chapel, he saw the Capuan friar standing near the altar. Once, he recognized him. "This is the man I saw in the sky," he said quietly. Padre Pio turned toward him and smiled. He said nothing. The silence was enough. From that moment on, he refused to participate in further bombings. The man who once carried death in his wings now carried a story, one he would repeat for the rest of his life, that somewhere over southern Italy, God himself had stopped his hand. He carried that moment for the rest of his life. The memory of a sky once filled with war and a single man, hands raised toward heaven, who turned violence into peace. This story recorded in several accounts and retold in the biography Padre Pio, the true story by C. Bernard Ruffin, became one of many wartime testimonies connected to the friar of Pietrelcina. For the soldiers who served in Italy, it was a moment that seemed to defy reason, a brief interruption of war by something that felt unmistakably divine. But why did God intervene and not allow the destruction of San Giovanni? God chose to protect that town because in that hidden corner of the world lived a man through whom he would speak again. Through Padre Pio, God would remind the modern world, so proud of its science, so sure of its disbelief, that miracles are real, that sin is real, and that heaven and hell are not ideas, but realities that touch the human soul. When the American pilot saw the friar in the sky, he didn't just witness a miracle of protection. He witnessed a message that said, "This place is sacred. The hands you see raised toward heaven are the same hands through which my mercy flows. I will not let you destroy what I have chosen to reveal." It was the same voice that had spoken in Fatima when the Mother of God showed children the reality of hell and called the world to repentance. In San Giovanni Rotondo, that same divine mercy took another form, not in the visions of children, but in the wounds of a man. The stigmata of Padre were not simply signs of suffering. They were proof, painful, living proof that Christ's passion is not a story from the past. It continues in the bodies of those who love him completely. So why did God save this town? Because through one humble friar he wanted to show the modern world what it refuses to believe, that the supernatural is not gone, that miracles have not ended, that even in an age of war, disbelief, and pride, he still reaches down into history to remind us, I am here. And that is why San Giovanni Rotondo was because God had chosen it as a living testimony, a place where heaven once again touched the earth, and a wounded priest became the sign that the gospel is not a legend but life itself.